Hello everyone, this is Edwin Choi, and we're again very glad to have Gavin Fitch from Capricorn Financial to talk about UK property mortgages. Is there any difference between a non-UK passport holder or UK passport holder? Does that make any difference at all?
Sure. So there are some lenders which exclusively lend to British expats. So those are going to be people who have previously lived in the UK, have British passports, or people just have the British citizen passport anyway. So there are a few more options available to them. Unfortunately, a lot of lenders don't qualify a BNO passport holder as a full-on British passport holder, but there's still plenty of options for people of all nationalities and all countries of residence as well.
Well, you just need one lender anyway.
Exactly.
How many institutions, or are there many institutions offering mortgages for UK property?
Yeah, absolutely. Where we're whole of market, there's over 150 different lenders that we work with. Yeah, so there's again, this is where Hong Kong is very different to the UK. Over here, it's very much you have your 7 or 8 banks, and they have kind of blanket 3 or 4 products each lender, and they kind of fit everyone. In the UK, it's extremely criteria specific, and so each lender has their own criteria and then their own specific products to go with that fit in that criteria. So of these 150 lenders we work with, well, 150 plus, that's over 10,000 products on the market basically. So working with an expert like a Capricorn advisor, it's definitely going to be able to help your clients and people buying in the UK to get the most attractive deals.
So if I were a very intellectual person, I want to do it on my own, that means I have to be reading over 10,000 product brochures about the mortgage. That's practically impossible.
It might take a while, but we have really good relationships with all of these banks and specialist lenders. So they're constantly giving us market updates about how they're being flexible with their criteria. Maybe they're changing their income requirements, their stress tests for rentals. Maybe they're then happy to do different nationalities and different jurisdictions. So the market is constantly revolving. I think if someone was to do it themselves, by the time they catch up with everything, the market's completely changed again. Okay, so Capricorns, we've been running for over 16 years, advising everybody all over the world on mortgages. So we're actually London's largest independent mortgage brokerage firm. We've got our main office there with over 100 people in our Hammersmith office. We set up a Singapore office a couple of years ago, and then we've moved over to Hong Kong to set up our office earlier this year as well.
So is there any difference between the property location, if it's in London, city centre, or in suburban area? Does that make a difference at all in terms of the mortgage application process?
So first of all, we can arrange financing all over the UK on any type of property, anywhere in the UK, okay? There are sometimes more options for London property, just because London is the hub at the end of the day. It's a bit more attractive to some of these larger financial institutions. Properties all over the UK, we're seeing a lot more lenders being happy to go to Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, the Southwest, those kind of home counties as well. There are probably a few more options in London, but almost all of those lenders also lend around the rest of the UK as well.
At the end of the day, again, you still need just one lender to provide the financing for you.
Exactly. That's all it takes, just the one.
Okay. What are the charges that the mortgage applicant would need to pay?
So there's a couple of things. So one of those is going to be a valuation fee. So every lender that lends on a UK property is going to get a valuation done. This is where they send an independent surveyor into the property, make sure it's finished to a high specification and a high quality, and then that surveyor is going to provide comparables for the valuation and provide a valuation figure to the lender in a report. That valuation fee, usually about £500, but it really depends on the value of the property, depends on the lender, depends on the surveyor that they go to. So it might be slightly more, might be slightly less. There are some lenders that actually offer free valuations. There's a little bit of an added incentive, which is always quite nice. Another concept that isn't too familiar over here in Hong Kong is arrangement fees. Okay, so this is a fee that the bank charges. It's basically their kind of administration application fee. It might be a set figure, maybe £1,000, £3,000, or it might be a percentage of the loan amount. It might be 1.5% of the loan amount.
And there are also options where you can pay up front, or the amount can be deducted from the loan afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of lenders are happy to kind of deduct it from the loan amount on advance or add it to the loan. But again, because there are so many lenders, they each do it differently. So some do require that up front. A lot of the time when it is due to be paid up front, it is refundable if the mortgage doesn't go ahead.
So there are lots of moving parts. What sort of fees are refundable, non-refundable, pay up front or deduction from the loan? So that's why we would need someone like you to help us with the proposal.
Exactly. And just to make one thing clear about Capricorn and how we work and how we charge clients. For international clients, we charge a flat fee of £1,500. So it doesn't matter if you're borrowing £100,000 or £1 million. We put the same amount of effort into every single deal and keep that fee nice and flat. We also don't charge it until we have the full mortgage offer from the lender. So this is when it's been approved in principle. All of the underwriting has been done. The underwriting is kind of when the bank is requesting documents for evidence of the information that we've told them. So proof of identity, proof of address, source of deposit, if there's income, proof of income. Once all of that has been reviewed and signed off by the lender, that means that they're happy with the borrower. So that's really good news. The valuation, which we've obviously just touched on, once that's been done and that's been signed off by the lender, they then instruct the lender's solicitors and kind of start their legal work. And only then do they provide the full mortgage offer, which is basically where the loan is kind of 95% approved. It's just the solicitor has a bit of final legal work to be done. Only then, once we have that mortgage offer, do we charge our one-off fee. Okay, so it's kind of right at the end of the process. We want to be really clear and transparent. We don't want to charge any upfront fees. We only want to charge the client a fee once they've been approved for the mortgage.
So you also mentioned a bit about the procedure. So can you elaborate a little bit on that? So let's say I am a Hong Kong person or I'm a UK passport holder, doesn't really matter. I look at a piece of property, I want to go ahead. And then they come to you. What's the first thing you would do with me, and then what are the steps thereafter?
Yeah, absolutely. So our office is based in the Champion Tower in Three Garden Road in Central. So what we look to do is we look to get clients in for that initial meeting.
Right.
Obviously, as I mentioned, it's a free consultation, no upfront fees at all for any of that.
Right.
And what we're looking to do is just kind of have a 45-minute conversation about how UK mortgages work, just explain some of the differences between the types of interest rates that are available, different types of mortgage, how the house buying process works, some of the costs associated. Once we've done that and answered any questions that the client has, we then look to understand their kind of personal financial situation.
Right.
Want to make one thing very clear: I don't work for any of the banks. I work for the client. Okay, so I'm on their side the whole time. It is much more useful to us when the client provides us with all the information rather than trying to hide stuff that the bank may or may not find out in the future.
Right.
So the more upfront and the clearer they are with us, the easier the whole process is for everyone. Once we understand that financial situation, I go and speak with some lenders to kind of see where the case is going to fit, and I look to present the client with a few different options. We then discuss those options with the client, answer any questions, and at the end of it they say, yes, Gavin, I like the look of option number 2, or whichever one it is. That is when we then look to, we kind of get the go-ahead from the client, and we look to go get the case approved in principle. Okay, so approval in principle is basically where the bank says, based on the information that we've been told up front, we're happy to lend. Now we're going to request evidence of what we've been told.
Right.
So that's some of the documents that I mentioned previously. We then provide those for the underwriting, and this is where they sign off the borrower as they're happy to lend to them effectively.
Okay.
After the underwriting is done, the valuation takes place, and this is where they then sign off the property. Then the legals get instructed from the lender's side, and we get the full mortgage offer. That full mortgage offer is literally the agreement that needs to be signed by the borrower, and then after that, it's provided back to the solicitor. The solicitor provides a report on title to the lender, and the lender signs off the case and confirms that they're happy to release the funds for completion.
That's quite a process.
It is quite a process, and explaining it like that might sound a bit complicated, but we arrange mortgages every day. We know exactly how these lenders work. We know exactly what they're looking for. We know how to make the process as easy and smooth as possible. The whole idea of using myself or a Capricorn advisor is that for the mortgage, the only people you have to speak to is myself and your solicitor. You're going to be speaking with your solicitor about the legals anyway, but the idea of using us is that you don't actually have to speak to the bank, chasing up their underwriting process. We take all of that off of your hands. If you were to go and submit a case yourself, how much you would really know about exactly what documents are going to be required.
Right.
But because we use these lenders every single day, we know exactly what they're looking for and how to make things as smooth and easy as possible.
Right, because if you're doing this yourself, you're flying blind. you don't have the experience, you don't have the contacts, and
Exactly.
you're not entirely sure whether the mortgage, how likely the mortgage will go through. But at least having a conversation with you guys, having the pre-approval,
Exactly.
or at least the intention from the bank, from lenders, that will make things much safer from a purchaser perspective.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned previously, we have these really good relationships with all of these top quality lenders. And for a lot of those lenders, we're actually their largest introducers. So, we do also have access to some kind of exclusive and preferential rates. So, for example, if you were to go to one of the banks and ask for a rate, they might give you this rate. If I went on your behalf, it might be a few 0.5% lower. So there's always an advantage of just having that initial conversation, seeing what's going to be available, and basically we want to take all the stress off of your hands. Completely understand that first of all, purchasing a property and arranging a mortgage are extremely stressful. Even more so when that property is the other side of the world with that financial institution. Let us take it all off your hands and make everything nice and smooth for you.
I see. There's actually a commercial rationale for the bank to give you better rates. Is it because if the banks are directly dealing with me and I don't have any experience, I might not speak the language too well, so it might be the banks might have a high costing with me as compared to dealing with you, so they would want to deal with you because you will be dealing with a lot of client handling matters on behalf of myself and our clients, but from the bank's perspective, they are much more efficient. They will be much more efficient dealing with you.
Exactly. There's a couple of things. So just as you mentioned, kind of the quality of the introductions that we're doing and the applications is going to be much higher than if someone is doing it by themselves for their first time. Also, the volume of business that we give to these top quality lenders, they've seen how good quality the clients and the applications that we've submitted are, and because we submit so many, which kind of shows how big we are and how large we are as a firm, and kind of the volume of business that we're doing, we kind of get those more preferential rates in certain situations, which is great to offer our clients.
Well, I think, Gavin, after these two sessions, I think people would generally understand that it's not too difficult to apply for a UK property mortgage.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully this has provided some in-depth information for some people, or even at a high level. But basically just kind of advise on the fact that a lot of people over here, it's much easier for them to get a mortgage than they probably originally realized. I'm based over here permanently, more than happy to meet people face to face, have that nice personable touch. It's much easier to speak to someone face to face on the same time zone rather than dealing with the banks or any of the brokers in the UK. Meet people face to face and have that better relationship, that long-term relationship, which is what we're looking to do.
Right, and especially with your experience, we're feeling more comfortable relying on you guys to go for UK property mortgages. Thank you very much, Kevin.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much again, Gavin. Gavin Fitch from Capricorn Financial. If you have further questions about this episode or the previous episode, please reach out to us and leave us a message below. Thank you.
想知道更多英國房地產嘅資訊，記得 like 我哋嘅 Facebook 同埋 subscribe 我哋嘅 YouTube channel 啦。